Already read them on
Did you guys know that to play the clarinet you need a reed? I didn't know this until I got to college. Like I went through high school, and it's like I just like, did it. I didn't really know. Yeah, I just put on some.
You didn't
like,
realize it was
bar-
a necessity.
Yeah, I just thought it was optional. I just blow, and I was like, oh, this works. And then I got to college, and that's like the first thing I found out. And I was like, oh my god, like I always thought the clarinet was like so beautiful without a reed, and then I put a reed on it, and I
And
was
it
like,
changed your world.
it
So
literally
much more
changed my
beautiful.
life.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I just wanted everyone to like get that out in the open, you know.
Had to confess, get it out of your
it
system.
took me a while to realize it.
But
So,
anyway.
so altissimo.
So yeah.
Altissimo.
So probably articulation is better to touch on first. So basically, to articulate well, you'll want to use the tip of your tongue to contact the tip of the reed, and that will, and using as light of a pressure as possible, that'll allow you to tongue as quickly as possible and as cleanly as possible.
Definitely just starting slow. That's the way to learn any technique.
Yeah. And making sure to use the same movement each time.
Consistency.
Yeah. And practicing that slow is the way to get that consistency.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I mean, it's really hard.
It's hard. You just
You
gotta
just gotta
do
practice it.
Yeah.
Long tones definitely help, even
Long
with
tones.
articulation.
Yeah,
Your parents will love it. Your neighbors will
Just
love
practice
it.
articulating slowly.
Yeah, actually,
The
one
world
of
would
the
love
biggest
it.
parts of
Everyone will hear you.
articulation is everything except articulation, because if you can get everything else stable, the articulation actually becomes quite easy.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is from at Gen X Zelda.
Ooh.
What is the mystery girl's name?
What are you talking about?
Next question.
Next question from at Mia Carter. What is the difference between ligatures?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good
So
question.
some people think that it makes a big difference, and to some people they perceive it as making a big difference, and then other people don't think it makes a difference at all, and then to them it doesn't. So like, because I mean personally I feel like it does to some extent, but there are times where, because most of us, I think all of us, use the optimum, right?
Yeah, the Van
Yeah.
So the optimum comes with 3 different like plates for the part that actually contact the reed, and so every now and then I'll just switch through those to see if they feel any different, and they feel like
Very small.
Yeah.
the difference is
Yeah.
so minuscule. Like there is something there, but it's not a lot.
Like it's
But then between different ligatures, I think there's a little bit more. But
yeah, especially
it's
between like a metal and a
Yeah.
like a leather
Yeah,
ligature.
that's
the
where you'll
biggest
notice
difference.
if you're using a material like metal, which is very hard, or if you switch to a softer material, which could be leather or rubber or a string ligature, they all kind of react the same ways. But the difference between the hard metal or the soft leather does make a big difference to the sound that is created.
Yeah. But I think a lot of it's just personal.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
in general, using a metal ligature helps the sound vibrate because it allows more vibrations.
Yeah.
But because the difference in just any ligatures are so small, it's something that if you have the money to invest in and you think it's going to make a big difference for you and it matters to you, go for it. But
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
too much money, it's not worth the investment.
Yeah.
There are
I-
other things you could invest in
Yeah. The
your money
mouthpiece is
better, like
definitely the most
mouthpieces.
important part.
Mouthpieces for sure.
Yeah.
And I
The
think
first-
that does help if you could try out
Yeah.
the ligatures beforehand, because
Mhm.
you very easily could like spend this money on something like, oh, I'm gonna sound so much better, and then put
Yeah.
it on and be like, this is
Yeah.
literally the same, or
Well,
like
yeah.
this feels worse.
A lot of people
You know.
usually try to switch their ligatures because they're the cheapest thing you can switch out, but the mouthpiece is a much better value
Oh,
as
it's
far
so
as
much.
Yeah.
like changing your sound.
And with anything, give it a chance. You can try something and it'll feel weird because anything unfamiliar is hard. But
Yeah.
as soon as you give it a little bit of time and you start adapting to it, then you'll notice if it actually does make a large positive or negative difference. So don't just try something and push it off because it's initially really bad or really good. Like, don't get stuck to something because you think it's the best thing in the world.
That's a big deal with mouthpieces, I think.
I mean, not what we're talking about. Do you want to talk about mouthpieces?
Mouthpieces are cool. That's another thing where
That's another thing you kind of need.
Well, it's like when I started playing the clarinet, when I began my clarinet career, I didn't play with a reed and I didn't play with a mouthpiece.
Or a ligature.
Play with the clarinet.
I actually just took the barrel and I just put it in my mouth and I blew it, and it was fine. Like I
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it sounded totally normal.
So now we're gonna open up your world.
Yeah, just like my eyes were opened to the
Got
world
to
of
college.
mouthpieces. Yeah, I mean, I did
How'd
my
you
auditions.
audition?
I auditioned without a mouthpiece, and they were like, "Wow, that's a really bold choice." And I said, "Yes, I'm a maverick."
Bold
you know?
applicant.
Yeah, and that's why
Artistic liberties.
That's why I'm. That's where I am. That's why I'm here.
I auditioned on, those carrot clarinets?
That actually,
see-
I'm actually a sub for carrot clarinet with some major symphony orchestras.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a very
There's
hard
some good
job to
excerpts,
get.
yeah.
pretty normal auxiliary.
I'm actually putting together a book of carrot clarinet excerpts. There are many, upwards of 3 excerpts, and that's a lot.
3.
Upwards of 3, like on the
so
high
like it
side.
could be 1,000, but we're pretty sure it's less than 1,000.
I'm pretty sure it's more like exactly 1. Actually,
AKA the one in the video.
but I mean, whatever. That's okay though.
So, the Bakun just came out with a video on their Facebook page about them like trying to make a carrot clarinet.
Oh,
I
really?
bet that was good.
It was phenomenal.
Ricardo probably sounded.
It
pretty
was
good
not
at it.
Ricardo. He was not there.
Oh.
It was just Maury and some other guy, and the other guy was very disinterested.
Aw.
Can we make one sometime?
There you go. Okay, so are we talking about mouthpieces for real?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we probably should do that too.
No.
I think all of us play on Van Doren
Van
mouthpiece.
Doren
Van Doren mouthpieces.
and M30s.
M30 and
or
or
M30Ds.
M30D.
Switch back and forth occasionally.
Yeah.
I play the M30.
So I think something for me that was good to, I guess, realize is that just because a mouthpiece is expensive, or just because a mouthpiece is like special order, or from like an independent, like a Hawkins or a Pine or a MOBA.
Names you don't necessarily know.
Yeah.
Sounds
Like, just because it's from them doesn't mean it's better for you. Because for a long time I played on a Hawkins and it was fine. It was great. And then I switched to the M30D, or the M30 and then to the M30D, which was like, it was way cheaper because it is factory made. But it just sounded way better for me. And I mean, part of that was because it was a radically different like type and facing of mouthpiece. But like, I think I always just assumed, I was like, oh, it's like, they won't be as good. It's factory made. But it was like, wait, it was like the biggest change in my sound in months. So, I mean, the downside to that is you're gonna have to buy more of them or go try out more of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like with the Hawkins, I was able to, I bought like the one, and I was confident that that one is what they all sound like. But when I got my Van Dorens, both with the 30D and the 30, I ordered like 4 to try. I think you did that too.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
everyone.
We probably all did.
You order like 4, and then you try all of them, decide which one is the best of the 4 because they're all 100%.
$500 gone from your bank account. I was like,
Yeah.
Oh, it sucks.
But it's the small millimeters that make such a difference. So if however they made that specific one mouthpiece is just slightly different than the next one, even though it's the same model, it makes a difference to try them and pick which one of that same model works best for you.
And I mean, I also should say, it's not like I'm saying that these other mouthpieces are bad.
yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah,
played on
Hawkins,
Pine for
they're
really long.
fantastic mouthpieces.
Oh, yeah, they're
I
great.
played on Pine.
It's just like,
Bobas.
I think it's more of like understanding the market, maybe. I don't know. If that's
And
what I'm
Definitely
saying,
just try everything you can get your hands on to decide what works best for you. And again, give everything its chance and spend some time on it. Because again, anything new is going to be uncomfortable. So I know a lot of people, when I was younger, B45 is the mouthpiece that everyone plays on, Van Doren B45. And that's extremely open. So then as soon as I switched to the M15 Lyre, and it was much more closed. And it was very weird because I felt like all my air was just back pressure and it wasn't actually getting into the horn. But the more time I spent on it, the more you get used to it, and the better you start sounding. And then you listen to recordings of yourself and you compare, and you realize it was definitely the right way to go. So also don't try something and have a closed mind about it's not good immediately. Give it some time and then compare.
I mean, the same thing happened to me when I switched to both the M30 and the M30.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's so personal though.
Yeah.
That's the biggest. I think that's definitely the biggest point about mouthpieces.
Yes.
Almost like any gear,
Any piece of equipment, even the instrument. I mean, you're a huge advocate of your
Huge
instrument.
advocate. Well,
Selmer signature.
I like it. I think it sounds. A lot
But then
better
we all
than
play
buffet.
buffets, so.
Yeah.
It's whatever. I think that's another thing. Just while we're on the topic, is like it's really important to be really critical of yourself.
Yeah.
Like all the time. Not critical like, oh, you sound horrible today, which that helps some people.
Or if somebody
But,
gives
like,
you a positive comment, like someone says "great job," not to be like "it was terrible." That's the worst. You take someone's like positive feedback, be like "thank you," even if you think it was bad.
But
just,
like I think whenever
thank you.
whenever you're playing something, you need to be
Sorry.
like whenever
Somebody's
you're
angry.
playing like whenever you're playing anything, like if it's in the practice room, like you're warming up or you're practicing solo rep or like you're in an ensemble, like you should be actively thinking like how am I playing right now? Like, am I using enough air? What do I sound like? And if you're not happy about it, you shouldn't just let it happen. Like, you should be trying to figure out, like, what you're doing differently that's not helping. Or, I think, like, some people get caught up in feeling really good about themselves. And maybe it's justified. Like, maybe they do. But if you get too comfortable with how you sound, you're not
going to get better.
Yeah.
So, like, you need to always be recognizing, like, what you're not doing well. And then figuring out a way to fix that.
And even if it's not that you're not doing something well, just what can you do better?
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing about music that makes it hard but also fun, is you can always strive for something better. So you're always reaching for something that's not quite in your grasp. But then as soon as you get that, you have something else that you want to get. So you're constantly getting better. And so even professionals that we look at and admire that they're always perfect, they always have things that they're trying to get better at. So it's fun because it's a constant learning curve and you're constantly getting better at what you do, but you also have to push yourself, otherwise you're just going to kind of stick at the same level.
I think we're good with that next question.
Oh, well, do we want to answer the rest of his questions?
Oh, oops.
What reed do we favor the most?
I like.
Jimmy likes the Rula Peak 4s.
Yeah. So we all play. We all play.
I play on Rula Peak 4.
I do too.
A lot, okay?
But Jimmy makes it very apparent. But actually, I do V12s too. And
The-
V21s.
V12s.
Definitely
Protips.
Van Doren reeds are going to give you better quality if you find a good reed, but they're definitely also more variable in a box.
They're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
Unless
so
you get Rula Peaks, then you just use all.
Those are also consistently
Inconsistent.
No, they're very consistent.
Hashtag shut up, Jimmy.
They're more consistent than the other ones,
yes.
but you
Yes,
do
they are,
still
but they're
do find
still-
bad
Also,
ones.
there's the matter of being able to play like all your reeds. So even
So you can work on them.
or even not working on them, just being able to be like flexible with the reeds you have. And so like in my last 3 boxes, like I've broken more reeds unintentionally than I've actually like intended to throw away because I'm just kind of clumsy. So like
Out the window.
so like out of like 18 reeds, I think I threw away 2 over the past like 3 or 4 weeks out of 18 of the Rula Peaks. And I think I've broken like 3
Yeah.
on accident. So.
But definitely Van Doren reeds, and Rula Peaks, V12s. We've tried the V21s, but we keep going back to Rula Peaks and V12s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
ones are just
They're different.
They're
They're different.
Yeah, in order of the ones I like, at least I go Rula Peak, traditional, V12, V21.
But yeah, I think choosing reeds, it's again, surprise, surprise, very personal. I mean, because again, he loves
And depends on the
56.
mouthpiece.
And that is important.
The pairing of the mouthpiece and reed is big.
Yeah.
So find a mouthpiece you like, and then find a reed that matches
Because
it.
when I was on the 30, I was playing slightly harder reeds, and I went to the 30D, which is a lot more resistant. And
I can cut them up if you want.
go cut them.
No.
Or don't.
It doesn't matter. I
So
don't
I
know.
switched
Might not be
mouthpieces,
able to pick it up.
and I couldn't, like when I was playing these harder reeds, it was just way too much work, and so I backed like half a size off, and now it's fine. Or like what was that?
What?
You were just like,
He always does that.
Oh, it's Jimmy.
yeah. So
His neck
that's
is
part. It's
incredibly
there's
Just
so
twitches.
much. What sucks is that reeds aren't cheap, and so much of it is just trying them for yourself.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
So like Van Doren's, I think are really good quality. Like they're not always. I mean, V12's definitely more so than 56.
I mean, I'm also going to throw this out. Diageo reeds or Rico reeds
Those
are
fine.
very
They're
consistent.
fine. Yeah, they're super.
Yeah, but
across
they
the
don't
board.
last very long.
They don't last very
So
long.
they're good for student playing, but
Yeah. And they're
we
a little
can't-
bit
we
cheaper
don't
than
like
Van
them.
Doren reeds
Yeah,
too.
they're cheaper and you can.
But again,
pick
it's
them
all
up.
preference.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So try stuff.
The Rula peaks are definitely most consistent. I've heard that the V12s are
they last a lot
they have
longer.
higher potential. So like
Oh yeah, when
And
you
they
find
last
a good
longer.
V12,
A good V12.
Nothing beats
oh,
a good beat.
Yeah.
12.
When you find a good one, the world is a beautiful place.
Yeah.
It's a really vague answer, but
I mean, but reeds are very vague.
reeds
Yeah.
are the worst actually. So
I kind of like them.
they're okay. I mean, they're not necessary though.
I mean,
I mean-
they are necessary, as we've
Just
discovered.
kinda.
They're only necessary in college.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Give us feedback. We like to
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
know what you think.
I mean, we're musicians.
Yeah. Again, we like to criticize ourselves and like to hear constructive criticism from others.
Constructive criticism, like, wow, that was a bad podcast, guys. Wow, I've seen some bad stuff on the internet, and then I saw this. Call this law office for financial reimbursement.
There'll be a class action lawsuit.
There's gonna be a class action after this garbage.
But we're definitely doing this for you guys to enjoy. So if there's something you would like to see different or whatever, or something you particularly liked, let us know.
Definitely give us some advice on how to improve this show.